I don't think, they're not as worried about the deadline, the September and March deadline as I thought. I think they'll consider the project if we're ready.
Well, he said that,
At EDC.
he kind of indicated that as well, but he also said if you submit it after March 31st, we'll consider it in September. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we want to bring this.
Yeah, we want to bring it forward before the
Yeah.
anyway.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, this, can you, as Don was pointing out, with respect to ARA, and considering two projects independently rather than one.
I don't know.
You know where I'm going.
I didn't even hear that question. What was the question?
No, I know what it was.
Working together too long.
Can you apply for double the amount of money?
For the renewable.
I was going to ask that question, but I didn't want to sound greedy.
Wasn't that the question you were asking?
No,
going the other way about
what this question was right. This was two graphs at the EDC money, like going in for ARA for two different ones.
Yeah.
Could you also go twice into EDC, call them two separate projects, and that's $500,000 for each, and then so. Yeah.
I mean, my view would be why not? If the worst that can happen is you get one, and you're still $500,000
I'm going to
there.
ask the question when I sit down.
Oh yeah, one ask everything. Yeah.
The one interesting side note of that, though, is if you apply for one for each and only get one for, say, that project, can you then divide it between the two, or do you have to spend it on that project?
Well, it doesn't
In
really
this
matter.
new era of accountability.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter.
I don't know, it doesn't matter.
Well, no, just spend it on the one project you applied for, and you have more equity in that project and a little more debt on the other, but you're still, your aggregate debt and your aggregate equity.
Because we're not getting the whole thing paid for, we still have to get some money.
Right.
Outside. Somehow we have to calculate that out.
That's true, okay.
I think, if I can speak, I agree with Don. I'd like to see two turbines, one at Fort Katy, one at Taylor Point, and to maximize, you want to do the 1.65. And if we're going to present all these different nuances to the town council, it gets tricky as far as, you know, if you have two turbines, or if you do one project and it's got the 500,000 and the 750,000, and you only want to pursue one, now do you go for a 2 megawatt or you go for 1.65? So now that's another vote. It's going to be a lot of working through it for the town council to figure out what they want and how they're going to vote on it. I mean, I think we'll make our recommendation, and I think we'll be clear on our order of priorities, but certainly I agree that we should pursue them as two separate projects. And if, like I say, if they shoot one down only on one site, I think you should go for the largest turbine on that site. I don't think that's
What are the net revenues on the 1.65 versus the
The
2?
two
Far off, were they?
Right, it actually looked like the return on investment.
Yeah.
And then the net profits were about the same between 1.65 and 2, and the costs were lower, so the return on equity was higher for the smaller turbines. And why is that again? I know you explained it, but it makes no sense to me.
If I recall, it had to do, well, the capacity factor is slightly greater for the 1.65.
Because it has a lower cut-in speed.
Percentage-wise, it generates a little bit more power for its size than the 2.0. That doesn't always happen. I think we're right at the tipping point where those two projects are similar. If we were to take this thing out another 10 years, the 2.0 would eventually cream the 1.65 because it's bigger, it would generate more. But in that, right at that tipping point, we're sort of at the point where they're matched almost, I think. So 2.0 is probably a little better, I think. I don't know.
Well, what is the size difference, height, elevation wise?
Just the blades are different.
The height difference?
Yeah.
No, I think the tower's 80.
The tower's the same.
Right, and that, I think we had a bigger blade for the 2.0 than we had originally for the 1.65, but all of that can be,
That tower is exactly the same.
there's a lot of different choices, and it kind of depends on what we, which manufacturer and which model, and I think there are going to be some additional calculations by a manufacturer, whatever manufacturer decides they are interested in doing the project, they'll help us decide what really is going to be best for them. They have a far greater knowledge of what their turbine, how they perform than I do, or anybody do. But there's a lot of different blade sizes, for example, and generator sizes even, and tower sizes, of course. But approximately 80. We did them all at 80 to get as close to even as we could.
I heard that the net metering bill is being kind of remodeled, you know.
I had
Massage
lunch
a
with
little bit more.
Well, there's massage is closer. I had lunch with Marie Gannum this week, and I've spoken to CLF. They're trying to expand the sources that qualify for net metering, like hydro, small hydro, but there's really no appetite for important changes in how the statute works, because most people are telling the legislators that the law just needs to sit still so we can understand it and live with it. It needs to stop changing for a while. So I don't think anything important.
Good idea.
Yeah.
I want that from me.
Okay. I don't think
Right.
I don't think anything will affect our project and the changes that are out there. But yeah, I mean, you never know.
Yeah, Annie's points earlier about 2 turbines versus 1 now and 1, possibly another one later. In terms of the savings that you might expect to get by doing 2 at once, or put it another way, how much you would lose by not doing 2 at once, but doing 1 now and 1 later, can we speak with any confidence about what that might mean in terms of cost?
Total absolute numbers, huh?
No, I mean,
Well, I mean, it costs hundreds
It's gonna be
of thousands to get one of those cranes here to pick the things up, right? Once it's here, it's a lesser job to get it from Fort Getty to Taylor Point, or Taylor Point to Fort Getty, I would think.
I mean, it's an argument in favor of doing 2 at once, but the council would say, well, is it that much difference?
We asked this question at
Well,
the
it's,
workshop, actually, we couldn't get.
Joe, is availability of ARRA money, or
Yeah.
any federal funds of that magnitude. Which is a big,
That
big
stuff
number.
is gonna go away soon too, it's all sunset.
Yeah, well, that's an even
Right.
better.
That's another one.
Yeah.
There's a lot of reasons to think now rather than later.
I just thought if somebody asked,
Right.
you know, how much would we save by having both at
Yeah.
once?
I mean, it'd be nice to, you know, to your point, it'd be nice to say that that money would offset putting the wires underground on Fort
Well,
Road.
if it's up for order.
Could be.
Yeah.
Right,
That's
right.
what I think.
That's what I was getting at, when, you know.
Right, right.
It's really, you're talking about the cost of bringing the equipment here. Is that essentially it?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of them, that's one of the costs, but there's the equipment, there's the people, there's all the materials, the parts have to get here. You know, if we figure out a barge system, you know, it'd be great to only have to offload that stuff once, you know, rather than do it now and then do it again in a couple of
So
years.
at a
you know.
minimum, it would be $100,000.
Oh, much more than that, I would guess, yeah. No, I mean.
That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
They had some floor to
Right.
the number that you could throw out.
And I would guess that, you know, if you are buying 2 turbines, people will be more interested in giving you a better rate than list price. Which actually brings up another issue. I hate to be a party pooper, 2 more issues. One is that speaking with turbine manufacturers recently, for that scale machine, there are so few turbines around here that only a few people are interested in selling you 1 or 2. There are many companies like GE and Furlander and other folks who won't consider you unless you're going to buy 5 of them. You or your neighbors will buy 5 of them because of the service agreement that they're very interested in keeping their turbines working well. It doesn't do anybody any good if they don't work. So it's expensive for them to do that, though, with only 1 turbine in the neighborhood. Now, AAER is interested in talking to people still because they're not doing as well as the other companies. They're not as well known, they're a startup, etc. That's one company. There are probably others.
AAER, right?
Does that one work?
Works well. They love it. Just talked to Gary Gump today and Rich Schlitzky, actually, both of them, and they were saying they have surpassed their 3 million megawatt mark now. I mean, 3 million kilowatt hour mark. There we go. And are doing better than we had even estimated. They've had a couple of absolutely fabulous days where they were produced more than nameplate, actually.
Why is that number significant? Is that?
That was the number that we had estimated that it's going to take them a year to make it. You know, they've passed it now, and they haven't been doing it for a year quite yet.